Picture this: Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That night air thick with Georgia humidity cutting through the roar of preseason nerves. A clash not just of players, but a Detroit grit versus Atlanta flash with something big hanging on the balance. Then bam, a silence slices through the chaos, heavy and sharp, like the crack of a bone snapping. An ambulance backing onto the field, a game halted with 6 minutes to go. The kind of scene that spins in your head long after you leave the bar, stirs that cold pit in your stomach where Lions hopes usually live. That's where we were last. Friday, right? Breathing the tension, watching Morris Norris, a kid still clawing at his spot, still doubling down on every snap, get hit hard enough to make the entire football world pause. Now pull up a chair, pour yourself something strong, because this isn't just another injury update. This is Detroit's pulse, raw and real, sprawled across the turf. See, falls like that aren't just broken plays. They've got echoes, reminders of our battles, Orlovsky standing tall when the chips were down, Calvin's magic fading into the sunset, Caldwell's rough exit leaving us clutching hope with trembling hands. We don't forget hard hits or harder comebacks. And that's why when Dan Campbell finally stepped up 3 days later with the latest on Norris, it wasn't some run-of-the-mill press clip. It was a breath of fresh Detroit air, gritty and honest, straight from the Lions' den. But here's the wrinkle. Dan didn't just say he's fine. Nah, he leaned in close and told us Mo's back with the team and doing well. But we're taking it slow, watching closely for the next 10 to 14 days. Hold on. Think about that timeline in a Lions context. In this era of Ben Johnson's balanced offensive mind, a scheme built on surgical run-pass harmony and bone-crunching protection, every single defensive snap matters like it's fourth. And go with 30 seconds on the clock. Norris, 24 years young, signed out of Fresno State only last year, was on the bubble, grinding for that critical backup safety position. His game time? Last season, barely tipped in with 2 regular season appearances and a handful of snaps in the divisional round. But in that Falcons game, before that moment that froze everything, he'd already carved out 2 solo tackles, a sign he was fighting, bleeding for every inch of that depth chart slot. Now, the injury doesn't just sideline a player. It shifts the entire chessboard. Who steps up behind him? Who gets the increased run? Detroit can't afford a ripple, can't swallow a gap without feeling the tremors all the way back to Ford Field's cold, frozen nights when every tackle tells a story. And yeah, there's a quiet heroism in Mo's own response. Rolling out. On Instagram, calm and collected. I'm all good, man. Don't stress it. Meanwhile, his teammate Terrion Arnold lets the emotion out over social media, reminding us all of life's fragile thread with a simple God, thanks for protecting my brother. Those are the threads tying this moment into the fabric of our Lions story. Every injury, every fight feels like us. The underdogs, bruised but never broken, chasing that playoff dream that slips as quick as Barry used to cut through defenses. But here's the rub: concussion protocol means no rush, no pump the brakes magic. Over the next 2 weeks, every exam, every check-in peels back the layers on what this means for our secondary stability. Campbell's promise to take it nice and easy isn't just cautious. It's a signal that Detroit's defense can't afford to gamble with heartbeats like these. Imagine the locker room whispers where the players recount that hit, maybe even crack a haunted joke, something like, "Next time, Mo, at least let me catch you before you hit the ground." The kind of dark humor that keeps a team so alive when the stakes feel sky high. That's Lions football, brutal, sometimes merciless, but never lacking in that savage camaraderie. And with Dan Campbell lighting the way, a man who's not afraid to lean into the tough talks and the long recoveries, you sense the hard line between persistence and prudence being drawn loud and clear in the Detroit huddle. So what's next? Who's sniffing the scent of extra snaps? The ripple could stretch beyond just the secondary. What about the offensive rhythm knowing the defense's shakeup? Could this nudge the coaching staff to tighten up run support, shift protection packages, or lean into more conservative schemes until Norris finds his feet? And down the line, how will this affect whether Mo cements himself beyond a practice squad gig or becomes a reliable chess piece in a defense hungry for consistency? Detroit's heartbeat is racing, and the entire city leans in. Mo Norris is back, yes, but the clock is ticking. For now, we wait, watching the horizon, knowing a winter of twists is coming. And this story? It's only just cracking open. Somewhere in the cold Detroit air, the next chapter is stirring ... And it's gonna hit harder than you think. This is our Lions. Tough, gritty, never backing down. And now's the moment that tests all of that. The ripple effect of Norris's injury isn't merely about filling a roster spot. It's about the identity of a secondary built for chaos and resilience, yet suddenly vulnerable. With Mo's status uncertain for at least another couple of weeks, someone's got to step up, and those snaps? They're bleeding into the next game plan, hinting that Campbell and the staff might have to tweak their entire defensive scheme, maybe even lean more heavily into nickel coverage or tighten run support, risking exposure elsewhere to minimize the meltdown, leaving us all to wonder, who's ready to be the hero in this story? Our history teaches us that no setback goes unpunished. Think back to our 0-16 season, where every loss chipped away at our pride, but also fueled that fiery comeback, that relentless desire to rewrite our story from the ashes. Or remember how Dan Campbell, in those gritty presses, keeps reminding us that miracles only happen when we refuse to quit. Like when Orlovsky Stan told us our fourth quarter spirit isn't just a cliche, it's embedded in our DNA with Norris's contract barely beyond his rookie season. A guy who logged just a handful of snaps last year but already showed grit on the field with 2 solo tackles before that fateful hit. One has to wonder, is there a sneaky under-the-radar player waiting in the wings who might suddenly go from practice squad mystery to starting hero? Because, let's face it, in Detroit, it's not about waiting around for luck. It's about sharpening every edge, every ounce of grit, and knowing that the next move can reshape the entire NFC North landscape. And in the locker room, you can bet some players are whispering, joking darkly, "Next time, Mo, maybe let me catch you before you go sliding into oblivion." A testament to the kind of dark humor that keeps hope alive amid the chaos. That humor masks the brutal reality. A secondary tasked with stopping the NFC's brightest stars. A unit suddenly thrust into uncharted waters, trying to piece together what's essentially a defense on the brink. Meanwhile, the coaching staff's looking at film, salivating over potential upgrades, pondering whether to lean more towards conservative coverages or risk pushing their luck with younger, less experienced players. Every snap Norris misses, every week he's out, could be the difference between a playoff push and the chaos of a midseason rebuild, fueled by injuries and unforeseen cracks in our armor. Campbell, no stranger to tough decisions, is perhaps weighing whether to hold steady or gamble on a younger safety, who might be blushing at the chance to prove himself on prime time. But that decision, that gamble, comes with a price. Beyond the secondary, the ripple extends. Offensive rhythm, special teams, even team chemistry could feel the tremors if the defense falters at a critical juncture. So here's the thing. Could this injury unleash a domino effect that shifts our entire approach, maybe prompting the Lions to lean into a more cautious, conservative game plan until the secondary stability can be assured? As for our city's steadfast fans, we're no strangers to the crucible. Remember the wild card heartbreak that crushed our season, a game where every missed tackle echoed like a gunshot and a single play derailed everything. That memory, the agony of hope shattered, fuels our hunger now, even if the current storm feels overwhelming. It's a delicate dance between perseverance and pragmatism, knowing that each decision now echoes through the rest of our season, possibly defining Dan Campbell's tenure and our franchise's future. Somewhere in Detroit's cold winter air, beyond the lit-up Ford Field, The next chapter prepares to unfold, and it's coming fast, because if Norris can't return in time, the next man up isn't just filling a gap. He's stepping into a spotlight that could ignite or extinguish our playoff aspirations. The question is, will the Lions adapt quickly enough to survive and thrive amid the chaos? Or will the weight of this injury define us in ways we're not ready to accept? And as our city leans in, eyes fixed on that horizon, the biggest mystery remains: who will seize the moment when pressure turns into opportunity and the next hero emerges from Detroit's grit? The clock's ticking, the stakes are higher than ever, and that burning Detroit spirit is just waiting to either blaze a new path or burn out in the shadows. So stay tuned, because the next move could change everything. And trust me, you haven't seen the smoke from Detroit burn yet.